heavy drinkers and alcoholics, as I was an alcoholic. Yeah, I think you're always an alcoholic. You just got to make sure you don't relapse. Start drinking again. But I started off, as most drinkers do, early, mid-teens, we having a bit of a dabble in drinking. And I started drinking more a little bit as I got a bit older. Seems to be a bit of a pattern to most people, really. And I used to get hangovers even when I was quite young. People said they didn't. I don't believe them, actually, because I think everyone suffers some sort of hangover from drinking alcohol, because it dehydrates you for a start. You don't sleep properly, all these sort of things. It's quite minor, to be honest. When I look back, what actually happened to me in the end, and how the withdrawals became worse and worse. So I used to feel tired and this sort of thing. And I used to think it was part and parcel of life, really, working and a bit more stress as you get a bit older, and family and this sort of thing, marriage and finances. So I used to drink steadily. Withdrawals were headaches, maybe a bit nausea, maybe not eating properly, a little bit disturbed sleep, really. That was all it was. But when you're young and fit, you can sort of bounce back from that. Not too bad. And I drank a bit more as I got a bit older. And I started to feel it got a hold of me. The drinking, I was starting to feel a bit more tired, a bit more hungover, maybe unable to perform at the same level. Not really with it, that makes sense. If you're a drinker, you'll understand what I mean. You don't feel energized, you don't feel particularly happy. I was only happy when I was sort of in a boozer, really, or even drinking at home, or a few drinks, I'll cheer myself up. There's nothing to be down about, particularly, but I think when you start to drink, even steadily, even 1 or 2 drinks a night, next day you start feeling a bit meh, if that makes sense, a bit not quite right. But it gets a hold of you, this habit, and it becomes a habit, like I said before. And when you're in the habit, if you let it continue, it will go to the further stage when you actually know that it's maybe causing you a few issues, but you still drink because you think, well, it's part of it. It becomes a big part of a lot of people's lives, drinking, doesn't it? You know, all the social occasions we attend after work, fancy a drink. We all know that drinks everywhere now. There's certain pub chains open very early in the morning, and people sit there all day. Somewhere warm, somewhere cheap, see their mates, read the paper, whatever. Now they sit and drink all day. At the moment, I think some pub chains have got half-price beer, which is encouraging people to drink more, I'd imagine. However, getting back to withdrawals. So, as time went on, I started to feel anxiety, as well as feeling tired, as well as not sleeping properly, as well as not eating properly. So all these things compound. I only watched a film called Leaving Las Vegas, about the guy who basically drinks himself to death. He just doesn't want to stop. I wanted to stop, but I didn't really know how to. And I managed to get some annual leave. I was working in London at the time, I came up north, and I didn't know that much about it. I'm talking about maybe 30 years ago now. I didn't do much research on it. The internet wasn't really widely available then. And my parents were like, oh, just stop, you can just stop. But they didn't know you couldn't just stop. I didn't know you couldn't just stop. So I came up north, I had a couple of beers in my bag, and I thought, I can't really let my parents know that I need a drink, So one morning, I got in Sunday night feeling a bit rough. Didn't have much to drink. I had a few cans, I think. I had a little bit in my bag. I didn't drink spirits, so I couldn't conceal much, really. I had a few bottles of strong lager. Anyway, the Monday morning came, I didn't have anything. And I was feeling really bad, so I thought, I've got to get out of this house. To go back to parents after being away for years is not good. And I started to walk down the local bank to the town centre. Not intending to go for a drink, just intending to get out and hopefully I'd feel a bit better. I felt very, very unwell, very shaky, and eventually I collapsed and had a seizure. I didn't black out at that time. And I was sort of trying to stand up, couldn't stand up. It was like a mild seizure, but I was still lucid. I refused to go to hospital. I sent a disclaimer when the ambulance came, somebody called an ambulance. I went back to my parents' house. 6 o'clock that night, I said to my dad, you're going to have to take me to the hospital. I felt so ill, I felt out of it completely. I felt I was going to pass out. And he said, right, we'll get you to the hospital. He was just going to take his car. Got to the car door. Next minute, I wake up. Well, next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital with a couple of doctors around me. I had this seizure later on in the day. And they gave me some Valium and sent me home. But I had a doctor's appointment next day and saw the doctor, and she said, you can't just stop. It's so dangerous when you're alcoholic. I didn't know I was alcohol dependent then. I thought I was just a big drinker. So I was off for a couple of years and back on again, relapsed many times. And then I was off for 8 years and then started drinking again in 2014. The longer you're off, the worse it is for when you relapse. And the withdrawals after I relapsed in 2014 were horrific. I couldn't walk very far. I started to shake a lot. I'd be twitching in bed, and I couldn't function without being near my bed, to be honest with you. So I had to drink to try and feel normal. And the withdrawals were like, incredibly bad. And again, the doctor said, you can't have any medication this time. I've had a couple of lots of medication because you've had it before. You've got to try and taper down. I tried to do that. It didn't work. I would always build up to, a large capacity of alcohol again. I was so frightened to cut down and stop in case I had another seizure. And that's the terror of withdrawal, you see. If I hadn't had that seizure, I may have just stopped. Now, I could have died. It's one of the only drugs where if you withdraw suddenly, you'll die. So when you start to feel these withdrawals getting worse, you start to shake and such like, that's really, really danger point. When you're slipping into active addiction, I would call it. I couldn't write a check. I went to a bank one day and I couldn't, this is the days a good man should get somewhere on a taxi. I went to write a check and I couldn't sign the form, the checkbook, So I went out and had about 4 or 5 pints. I went back and it was right as rain. In this film, Leaving Las Vegas, exactly the same thing happened. It was quite bizarre. I watched it last night with a girlfriend. I thought, God, that was me years ago. Couldn't write a check, couldn't write a letter. And eventually what happens is you have a few drinks and you can steady yourself a bit. But in time, those withdrawals get worse and you can't steady yourself at all. And you're just constantly shaking. And you're just lying in bed, waiting for it all to end in some ways. And I had a horrendous couple of years where I was in my flat most of the time. Managed sometimes to get out with the help of the taxi drivers to the pub, and I was just sort of rotten all the time. And I was so worried about running out of stock that I had massive stock in the house. Slabs and slabs of lager delivered by a dialer drink company who would drink, somebody would deliver drink in the middle of the night, charging extortionate rates. So the terror of withdrawal was massive, and that's what a lot of people struggle with, the anxiety, because honestly, you cannot just stop. It's horrendous to trying to stop. And everyone else will say, just stop, just cut down. But unless you're an alcoholic, you can't. And that's why I keep pushing this. Medics were brilliant. They saved my life in the end. I was really, really ill. I got help when I was really, really ill. If I just had those tablets maybe a few years prior, I might have stopped for longer. I don't know. Can't turn the clock back. But the withdrawals will get so bad that you lie in bed, you haven't eaten for days, you just reach out for a drink and just go like that. I used to learn how to drink lying down, if that makes sense, just to get some alcohol in my system. And as time goes on, you need more and more. I didn't drink spirits, as I said, so I took a lot more alcohol. I was getting stronger and stronger lagers, you see, and beers and stuff like that. It makes it worse. In the end, I tried to get some pills from the internet, this diazepam stuff. I was so worried it wasn't the real stuff. I kept drinking. That made things even worse. And I was just terrified to even walk out without somebody near me. I needed a chaperone to go anywhere. I thought I'm going to collapse. I'm going to have a seizure again. There was just all this worry because I had a seizure previously. And I would say that the anxiety levels was, fever pitch level then. And I lost all my confidence and I was so worried about having another seizure. That's what stopped me. Well, that's prevented me stopping really. Because when I used to taper off, you see, maybe 20 drinks down to 10 as well, I still felt rough. I still started to shake in the mornings. And the shaking becomes something which is virtually all the time because you just can't fix it. Initially you could, when you were shaking to have a few drinks, it would steady you down, but when the withdrawals get so bad, you're chemically dependent on it, then you just can't function at all. And it's so bad, and it kills too many people, this. If you're having problems with it, see a doctor if you've got any issues with, serious dependency. In the hope, I would hope you get some help. I would hope you get some medication, because that's the only thing that helped me in the end, medication. When I was really ill in 2019, I was taken to hospital and I had 50-50 chance of living. I was right to the end, really, before I got properly seen, I would say. Because they tried to get me to go with the AA, it didn't do me. I know a lot of people have managed to get off with the AA. I don't think they were in the state I was in. I needed some medical intervention. I think a lot of people do, and this is why a lot of people die. It's killing a lot of people. They don't want to die, They don't go out day one think I'm going to drink and kill myself. It's something that's just progressive. And it can happen very quickly because you can go from your sort of heavy drinking to heavy drinking with issues to alcoholism within a matter of months. And now, if you relapse, it happens in a matter of days. You can go from completely sober. I went from completely sober in 2014 to being back to completely addicted within 2 to 3 months. So 8 years were just wiped out. And you hear a lot of people say about relapse. You have one drink and you're back on it. It's not the one drink that kills you, it changes your brain activity. And your one drink becomes 2, and then you want 4, and then you think you've got control of it. You're back in the game, and you drink again. And I did a video the other day about this is where how strong you are. Day 1, right? And what happens if something happens during the day, and these 2 lines come that I've had a bit of stress, I just fancy a drink, fancy a drink, fancy a drink. If you can't keep it there, and you get to there, you're back on full drinking mode again. You've got to keep these 2 things apart. This is how strong I am. This is where I am. Trying not to get that close. If you get that close, then you're going to drink. And that's the killer. I mean, it really is the killer. Try and watch that movie, and you'll see what I mean about the shaking and the withdrawal symptoms. In the end, the withdrawal symptoms kill the guy. He reaches for a bottle. You know, he was drinking vodka, some any spirit he was drinking. I know it's a film, but I've seen people like that in real life. I was a policeman in central London. I've seen many, many people die of alcoholism. I've had many friends die of alcoholism who have been in hospital for various things. I've got a couple of people I know who've had liver transplants. They still drink. They've been told time and time and time again. It's an addiction. It's a strong addiction. It's the most dangerous drug in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And if you've got any problems, push to get help. Get onto one of these channels, speak to me, speak to other people on the channel, speak to other people who are doing this sort of thing. It's not just me doing it. Get some advice, just do some research, and don't, if you're dependent, don't just stop, because you'll have a seizure. There's a high chance you'll have a seizure. Some people won't, but it's the fear of it that pushes the anxiety up, in my opinion. If you benefit from the channel, then subscribe and share it. I've also got an ebook out which is there to help you. It's just a guide, really, to try and help you get sober, and more importantly, stay sober. It's only a short book, but it's only $5.99, price of a drink. Have a look at that, and if you've got any questions, then drop me a line, and I'll speak to you soon.